Am I good? I'm fucking good. Alright. So, hold on for what? Alright. I mean, look, I can bleep everything. We're gonna need another fucking beer. Look, you gonna let me do this or what?
You do it. You just gotta get some footage of her.
Okay. Do you want to throw her across the fucking shit now? Oh no, it's the Headless Horseman.
Roxy, come here. Is she in it? Can you see her?
Like, kinda. She's scared. She can't even...
She's scared. She just don't know what to do.
The table's slippery.
Table's slippery, ain't it? There you go. Right there. Sit. Stay. Hey.
This is animal abuse.
Sit. Sit.
Alright, we're done with this. Let me talk about the book.
Alright. I'll just throw her up here randomly. What are you talking?
Dude, is that what you're really gonna do? Alright guys, here is for another drunk book review. I've already had a few, so we're starting off strong. I would say I got a good buzz going on. I'm feeling like a 3 out of 10, so we're starting off at that. Today we're going to be reading... Today we're going to be reviewing The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Other Stories by Washington Irving. So there's a good look at that. Basically, it's by the Penguin Classics, which is a, you know, book organization, I guess, that, does classic books. But really, most of this is from the sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon Ghent. And so that's where most of this comes from. So not only am I going to be reviewing the Sleepy Hollow story, but I'm going to be reviewing all the other stories in this book. So that's the intro of this. Let's get started. Quick note. Many spoilers. I'm going to be talking about these stories in depth and then giving my rating on the book. So, I love you, Justice. This contributes to quality content. There's a man named Justice in my house and he's beautiful. But you should know that already. I'm doing a drunk book review. Fuck you.
Why are you... First of all, I get that, but what do you say?
You know what? I'm drunk and that fucking book rocks.
It does, dude. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It took me a while. It's Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good, actually. Well, it's a bunch of books with it.
Justice doesn't read. Don't
listen. I've been there. So
That's true. In fact,
I was there.
It was, dude, I'm gonna be honest, when I read this short story, and it was like the last short story, because most of these are just like a bunch of short stories thrown together. They basically took their whole culture of the whole city, they just took it from this book and this short story. Like, all the shit we read, like, about how the town was a dreamy, like, fucking place and how it was under a spell. That's all Irving. That's all Irving. They just, like, took it and just was, like, ran with it.
You heard it here first. Fake news.
Fake news. I mean, hey, they were just like, yeah, man, that's how it is. That's how it is. It was either by some German scientist or by some, like, Indian wizard.
That sounds like it'd be some German shit. Guten Tag.
Yeah,
That's all I
so
gotta say.
that's why
Yeah,
Sleepy
so
Hollow is so weird.
Hey, you know what the German word for constipation is?
I don't know.
Justice, why did you even?
I haven't even gotten into the book yet. What is the first story worth commenting on? The Voyage. I do remember The Voyage to a certain extent. I remember that this is the first point where I realized that Irving had a very poetic sense and a poetic way of writing. Let me drink some more. But it really was very fun to read the way he said things. Like, I said that at sea all is vacancy. I should correct the expression to one given to daydreaming and fond of losing himself in reveries. A sea voyage is full of subjects for meditation, but then they are the wonders of the deep and of the air, and rather tend to abstract the mind from worldly themes. I delighted to loll over the quarter railing or climb to the main top of the calm day, and muse for hours together on the tranquil bosom of a summer sea. So it's like, he plays with language a little bit, and it was very fun to read The Voyage. Hold up. The Voyage was pretty much just him talking about how much it was super cool to like fucking travel across the ocean. And like, that's really cool. I bet it was really cool to travel across. No. Because here's the thing. I've been on a cruise before. It is really cool to travel across the ocean. So
I'm on a boat, motherfucker.
it's really cool to travel across the ocean. But I bet he would have thought it was really cool to travel on a plane. Do you think so? I think he would have thought it was really cool to travel on a plane, I guess. Except, like, people suck, I guess, too. But, yeah. I mean, boats are more calming and relaxing, and I guess back then it was, like, it was something not everybody did. You went on a boat to explore, and that was really super cool for people. And you didn't have like all of these luxuries. Like when I went on a cruise, I fucking just drank the whole time and fucking partied and went to comedy clubs and ate a bunch of food at buffets and all that stuff. Like, you made sure the boat like got to the place that it went to, and then you meditated basically, because he talks deeply about like what he thought was under the water, and like people back then didn't know, and we barely know today. I mean, we know a good portion of it, but like they say that, we know more about space than we know our own oceans, but like that's what they meditated on. Like they were just like, what the fuck is under there? And so like that's a really cool thing to think about, like the whole time you're just traveling from one place to another on a boat. Like you're just like, this is completely unknown territory. So that's basically what I got from The Voyage, but hold up. I got some fucking cheese pizza and it's pretty fucking good. Roscoe, don't fucking remember that at all. I'm gonna skip that. The wife I remember this pretty well. Let me finish my pizza slice. And chug this rest of this beer. And now fucking take a hit of my fucking face. Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me to the highest extent. Okay, so Irving shows his highest respect of women in the whole entire book in this fucking short story. I believe that. So this is the total opposite of a gold digger story. This is like if you were to find the perfect woman ever. Well, I mean, you know, it's not like completely the perfect woman. There's still like other qualities of a woman that could be desired. But like this is so good as far as gold digging goes. 'Cause she is like, fuck the gold, man. We're not gonna dig for gold at all. We're gonna fucking, I don't even know. We're not gonna dig any holes. We're gonna, what's the opposite of digging?
Filling.
We're gonna fill some
Dig a
holes.
hole and fill a hole.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. We're gonna fill some holes. That's what it is. Here's the thing. So basically the wife is about some guy finds this like really perfect girl, and she is like, well basically along the line, he's super rich and rich enough for like this girl, and she's a really, because Irving is super, he doesn't really tell stories about anybody who that's like, unless they're like larger than life. So anybody that Irving's gonna tell a story about, it's gonna be somebody who's above, you know, the rest of the town that he's talking about, or society. It's gonna be somebody that everybody's talking about. So this guy and this girl are top notch. And so this guy's making a whole bunch of money, and this girl's like, everybody wants her. So they get together, and one day this guy loses all of his money, and so he talks to his buddy, and he's like, hey, I lost all of my money. He's like basically crying, breaking down, and he's like, I don't think my wife's gonna like me anymore. It's like, dude, she's gonna love you, dude, no matter what. This is her chance to show you that she likes you for you. And that only makes me laugh because I'm bitter. Like, I'm not super bitter, but like, it's like, there are a lot of females that, you know, divorce rates are high because of financial reasons. But here's the deal, is that in the end, this was written by a man, by the way, but she stays. She very much stays. And not only that, but like the guy is so worried that she's gonna leave because he doesn't have any money. And instead of that, they move into like a little shittier house, and she spends all day in this shitty house making it look a whole lot better. And she like fucking goes outside and she fucking puts flowers behind her ear and shit and looks really pretty for him. And he comes back home and she like welcomes him, and he just fucking breaks down and is just like, she's the most amazing person ever. And he's like, and like the buddy is like, see, I told you, man, she's like so good. Like, she wants to be, you know, good in your time of whatever. She doesn't care about your money. And that's basically the wife. And You know, I don't know if that's just basically. There's later things in the book where it seems like, you know, that's not how he portrays or thinks of women, or like he doesn't know at all how women are. But that's his like best portrayal of women, and I think that's very sweet. You know, that's the opposite of a gold digger, where like you're fucking rich as fuck and then you drop down to your lowest and she like shows even more affection towards you. So I don't know, the wife was, you know, pretty good. Rip Van Winkle, here's a really good one. This one's pretty popular, actually. It was one of the more popular ones in the whole era of Washington Irving being a thing. No beer. We're gonna have to get more. Okay. So I'm gonna try and like focus as fuck, because we got some shit to go through here. Rip Van Winkle. This one is one of my favorite stories of all time. Well, not of all time, but of all time in this book. This one is really good. I like this one of Irving's because it's just funny as fuck, dude. It's just funny. It's really funny. Okay, so Rip Van Winkle is super known throughout the town, like most of Irving's fucking books. Like, everybody loves him. He's good at like with sports and all the children love him, but there's one person who doesn't love him, and it's his wife. And so basically he's like in like basically I don't know if this is where Americans got the idea, because Irving is considered to be the father of American literature, and I don't know if I didn't discuss it, but there's a letter in the before you even read any of this where somebody discusses it, and he's very upset with that idea because it makes people dismiss his work because nobody wants to be, I don't know, it's bullshit. I think if you're the father of American literature, that's a good thing. But anyway, so his wife doesn't like him, but everybody else does. One day, I don't know if this is where they got it, but his dog, he loves his dog. So I don't know if they got that from like man's best friend, like Americans. But that's who he loves, is his dog. So him and his dog go out to just hunt. They end up going to some mountain, and he ends up sleeping there. What ends up happening, time to chug some alcohol. What ends up happening is he gets in a coma for like fucking 20 years. And then he wakes up and he missed the whole Revolutionary War. Like the whole goddamn thing. He fucking wakes up. He was cool, man. Like, he was cool being under British control. And he wakes up and he's like, wait, we didn't like them at some point? Like, he wasn't a political person at all. And then people were like really confused. And then he talks to his daughter. And she's like, oh my god, I know who you are. And then like, oh wait, no, that's not true. He talks to his daughter, and before he reveals himself like fully, I believe this. to be the case, he was like, hold up, I have one last question for you. He like goes through a series of questions with her. He's like, yo, is your mother dead? And she's like, yeah, no, she died. And he has this elated feeling of just, oh man, he's just so joyful. And he basically is just like, fuck yeah, no, my wife's dead as shit. And you know, he's just like, yeah, no, I'm your father. And she's like, oh shit, that's great. He slept through the Revolutionary War, and he didn't even care that they won the war or that there was a conflict between America and Great Britain. He didn't care about any of that. He was just happy that he slept through his wife's life. And then he woke up, and what they called it back then, there's a term now, or I don't even know what the kids call it now. They might call it something different, but I'm 24, about to turn 25. When I was growing up, they called it whipped. I don't know if they call it that now, but basically what they called it back then in the 20th century, they called it henpecked, at least in this time. And so, you know, Rip Van Winkle was henpecked. And so, all the, now, like, after hearing that story, the people that believe it, and the elders definitely believed it, but anytime that somebody felt henpecked, they'd go take a drink in remembrance of Rip Van Winkle, basically hoping that they'd go into a coma and wishing that their wife would die. So yeah. If you ever want to, like, call somebody whipped and them not know what you're talking about, just call them henpecked. Let's see, what's the next one? English Writers on America. That one's a really good one. I can go through this one pretty shortly. He just basically said that, like, the British really, at this time, criticized America really fucking hard. And he basically was like, hey man, we shouldn't care too much what English people think. We're on a whole different playground. We have our own different ideas and our own different things to work with here. We have our own different land. And so we should take it with a grain of salt, basically. You know, we're never going to find ourselves if we constantly, you know, take everything that English people have to heart. And that's basically what he had to say about that. Though he really respected, you know, English point of view. And that's basically the end of that. He really did. Because the next book is Rural Life in England, where he just basically respects, you know, the city life in England is great, but where you're really gonna get the crux of England is in the country of England, where, like, they just talk however they want to talk, and they don't give a shit, and it's so unfiltered. That's I guess was really refreshing to him, because, you know, because basically he went there. I mean, that's basically where he published this piece of work. He published it in British, and he knew that it was for Americans, but he published it in England, and so he been around the block is basically the deal. And so, you know, he liked the way that English people spoke, and especially when they were unfiltered, and that was, you basically saw that more in like the countryside of England. Broken Heart, don't remember that at all. Oh, I kind of do. It's basically, no, the Broken Heart was about how men, if they have a broken heart, they can just go into their work, and if women have a broken heart, they kind of die. I guess that's how it was back then. I don't know. It's a very short story. Or they can die more easily than men after a broken heart. I mean, that's sad. The Art of Bookmaking. Don't really remember it too much. Country Church, no. The Widow and Her Son. Drawing a blank. With all these blanks, I still really think Irving's a good author. I just took a long time. Like, I wanted to read this within, like, a short period of time, but, like, I don't know. I wanted to read this by the end of October, but you guys know that it took a long ass time. The Boar's Head Tavern, East Cheap. Yeah, fuck that. I don't fucking, like, for me, it feels like I never read that. A Shakespearean Research? What the fuck? We're gonna get to something eventually. Rural Funerals. Yes! Yes. Yes. Here we go. I remember Rural Funerals. He said straight up that anything but rural funerals are bullshit, kind of much. He said that city funerals, they don't give a fuck, and rural funerals, it's like such a melancholy, dude. And that basically there's a sadness of a death that you want to keep on to. Like, there's sadness in life that everything that's a sadness in life you want to dismiss and you want to let go of, but not the death of a loved one. The death of a loved one you want to hold on to. And I thought that was pretty true. I mean, there's very few people that I've lost in my life, and most of them were at a very young age. And you know, it's not a feeling I know very well, but like I feel like it makes sense, at least, to where most things you would just be like, it's not worth it. But I feel a beauty. It makes sense to hold on to somebody you care about. Like, I don't think that there's any way that you would let go of somebody that you love that died. And that's you know what I mean? Like, so it's whether it's a lot of people or not, I think he made a good point here where, like, they were cherished amongst a lot of, like, most of the city or the townspeople or the rural people, you know, like, urban people, like, could come and they knew them, but rural people would really know who you were, and it would really be, you know, it really wouldn't leave you when somebody died. And I think that's kind of a realization that made Irving more of a gothic writer and kind of set the tone for American literature as a whole. Because Irving is kind of a gothic humorist, and with Edgar Allan Poe and Mark Twain and Nathaniel Hawthorne kind of following it. You know, I mean, that kind of set the tone, and that makes sense. You know, I think that the beginning of American literature was just a bunch of gothic humorists, which makes sense because, you know, we come from British people, which are known for dark humor, I think, and we kind of have our own sense of dark humor as well. But we have our own spin on it, I think, where we definitely have a lot more supernatural and spiritual tendencies to it. I think a lot of British people are very atheistic. Let's see. The Inn Kitchen, no. The Spectre Bridegroom, here we go. Let's drink some more. Let's get some fucking... Oh, fuck. Let's go. How do you think I'm doing, Mom? Am I doing okay?
Yeah, but you drag on that bait too much.
I mean, there's a point to the whole drunk book review. Excuse me, dude. I'm a gentleman and a scholar. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the Spectre Bridegroom. I'm gonna try to go through this. Basically, this one's... I read this while I was drunk. One of my favorite pastimes is getting inebriated. So, I thought, you know what? If another one of my favorite pastimes is reading, if I could combine the two, then that would be great. But I ended up trying, and I read this short story and woke up and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I read. So I read some summaries and read back on what I read a little bit. Not too much, but just to see if it correlated with the summary. And I put all the pieces together. So basically what the Spectre Bridegroom is, which was another fan favorite. So this wonderful woman, wonderful person who is so not a sleut, basically, that she wouldn't even give attention to a man dying at her feet, basically, is how they described it. She was into piano, I believe, and well, a bunch of amazing things, and she was a prodigy, is how he put it. The one day she was meant to get married to another great man, but on his way to meet her, he was attacked by a band of thieves. He was accompanied by a friend, and he told his friend as a dying wish to go see her and tell her that he was dying, basically. So the friend went to tell her, and nobody would let the motherfucker speak. Basically, like, they were just like, oh, because like they had seen this like guy like at a very young age, and I guess they knew of the accomplishments he made, but they hadn't seen him, so they were just like, no, have some wine or have some food or whatever it is, talk to the girl, like whatever it is. And so he did, and he ended up falling in love with the girl, but he was a different person than they thought he was. So at the end of the whole event, when he was leaving, you know, he knew he was in love with the girl, but he knew he wasn't the person, so he turned to the doorman and basically was like, yo, this is so funny because the guy is that she's gonna marry, or that she's supposed to marry, is totally dead. So because the doorman is like a fucking idiot, he's basically, wait, that's you, man. So he's basically told everybody that, like, he's a ghost. So he told everybody he's a ghost, and everybody believed it. He was like, wait, that's a ghost? And so the girl basically got a message or something. I'm not exactly sure how she... I don't remember how she actually knew to get out of the window, or if that was explained exactly, but she did. And they came back, and he explained to the father that he wasn't a ghost and that he just wanted to marry his daughter. And the father was like, oh, thank God, at least you're not a ghost. Yeah, you can marry my daughter. And that was about the end of that whole thing. And so, like, that's why I say that, like, Irving is a gothic humorist. Because of things like that. Let's see. Westminster Abbey. No, that's not worth talking about. I don't even remember it. Christmas. Here's the thing, is like, Irving was such a gothic, and you would think he's just a Halloween kind of writer, but he really liked Christmas. And so it was really weird because I got on this in December, and he very much valued the idea of Christmas. Like, he just told about, you know, carolers, like kids caroling at doors, and just the whole atmosphere of just, you know, people giving and caring and loving each other. You know, being the father of American literature, and seeing, you know, some of the, you know, Christmas tales that were created, like Frosty the Snowman and fucking I don't even know what fuck. Just a bunch of fucking Christmas shit. I just feel like it came from this idea, like, cause Americans like fucking dig Christmas, and this was like their main ass dude back in the day. And he basically was like, you know, with all of my wisdom, what is it worth? Like, if I can bring somebody happiness with this kind of writing, then that's worth it even more. So he valued his jovial writing just as much as his gothic writing. Traits of an Indian character. Traits of an Indian character. Let me smoke some vape and eat a pizza and drink some beer. Okay. Excuse me, that was terrible. I'm a gentleman and a scholar. Okay? Here's the deal. Here's the thing. Irving actually thought we had ruined the Indian character. He thought that not only did we have fallen short of... Because that's the thing. Not only have we did wrong to the Indian people. Okay, hold up. Let me have some shit. Irving thought we basically turned the Indian into thieves and criminals because we took away their land and we took away their way of being, and we tried to enlighten them into white culture, and we tried to teach them of our morals and standards and everything like that. And he basically was not about it. He basically was like, there are some things we could teach them, like medical science or, you know, things of that nature, but our morality and philosophy, like, how much do we even hold up to that standard? You know, and he was basically what he said is like, you know, the Indians are suited for the jungle, like the Arabs are suited for the desert. That's what he said in the book. This is a, you know, 19th century writer. I'm just saying, but that's what he said. And, you know, he basically had sympathy for what we had done to the Indian people, and said that it wasn't their fault for them being this way. We kind of stripped them of their initial way of being. It was basically fucked up. But I mean, yeah, Irving had a lot of sympathy for the Indian character, which is like not Indian. Native American. I mean, probably should just be called American. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, he felt like we really fucked up their whole shit. Alright. Finally, we're going to the Sleepy Hollow, which is the last fucking story in this book. Basically, what's crazy about this story is that this story, I've been to Sleepy Hollow, and this whole story set up the whole fucking theme of this place. Like, you go to a restaurant and it has quotes from the book. It has, you know, I mean, it has Edgar Allan, which I'm gonna read next, by the way. Edgar Allan Poe, I'm gonna read next. But it's just like, it's all Halloween. It's all everything to do with the Headless Horseman. It has everything. It's like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. He wrote it, and it was like, we're gonna be that. Now, we're basically gonna get into it. Ichabod, according to this book, was an ugly ass Shrek motherfucker. It's basically how this like fucking described it. Irving didn't take 1 second to compliment this dude. He took every second to say something fucked up about him. Let me just try and find one sentence about how he described this guy. He was tall but exceedingly lank, with narrow shoulders, long arms and legs, hands that dangled a mile out of his sleeves, feet that might have been served for shovels, and his whole frame most loosely hung together. His head was small and flat at top, with huge ears, large green glassy eyes, and a long snight nose, so that it looked like a weathercock perched upon his spindle neck to tell which way the wind blew. To see him striding along the profile of a hill on the windy day with his clothes bagging and fluttering about him, one might have mistaken him for the genius of famine. The genius of famine. What the fuck is that? Descending upon the earth, or some scarecrow eloped from a cornfield. So yeah, he basically ripped into his own imagination of what Ichabod could be. And it was fucked up, man. Basically, a story of Sleepy Hollow goes. Ichabod's chillin'. He's ugly as dick. And he sings very well, though. Everybody likes his unique nasally voice. That sounds pretty good. And he tries to win the heart of, what is it, Katrina?
Katrina Van Tassel.
He tries to win the heart of Katrina Van Tassel. And he gets pretty close, but because Ichabod is a very superstitious man, Braun plays a trick on him and basically acts like the headless horseman and throws a pumpkin at his head. And everybody thinks he's still alive. He probably is. But regardless, Braun got to marry Katrina and Ichabod didn't. And so that probably means nice guys finish last.
He's not a nice guy.
Is it fun?
He's a gold digger.
That's true. I mean, Ichabod's a gold digger. That's true. I mean, but Braun's a fucking douchebag. So it's like, they both suck, I guess. So what is the moral of the story if they both suck? I mean, yeah, that's what it is. She goes for looks, and she went for the guy that won. You know, what is the saying? Girls wait at the finish line and they fuck the winners. That's the line. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that in, but I might. I mean, look, all I'm saying is, Irving's a great writer. As the father of American literature, as they say, I think he was a really, really good writer. I think he wrote some pretty funny stories and really laid a foundation for, you know, just us finding our own way and like basically British people finding their way in the Americas. I mean, basically that's how it is. So I personally would give this no less than an 8.7, but I would probably give it a 9.0. I would give this a 9. I would give this a 9. I've read a 10 before, but I would give Irving a 9. He wrote very well, and they were very entertaining, for the most part. Anyway, that's the drunk book review. Have a good night, everyone. Deuces. Bipolar dude out.